Welcome to the 30th episode of Teachers Glasses Presents Bollywood Talkies with Outlook. Also, the first episode in 2021, the Year of Hope. I'm your host, Mitrajit Bhattacharya, and my guest tonight is an actor, producer, filmmaker, recipient of Padma Shri, winner of virtually all Indian and international awards for his dazzling work that have featured the likes of Cate Blanchett, Shabana Azmi, Nasiruddin Shah, and Shia LaBeouf. He can easily be termed as the most prominent Indian face at the world cinema. It's my honor and privilege to welcome Shekhar Kapoor all the way from London to Teachers Glasses Presents Bollywood Talkies with Outlook.
Thank you, Mitrajit. Well, that's an overstated introduction. I'm sure there are other people that are even more well-known, Indians that are well-known than I am.
What's Love Got to Do with It is already looking cool and written and produced by Jemima Khan, starring Academy Award-winning actor Emma Thompson. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm very excited. We're already into production. We've been filming with Emma and also with Lily James, who's a very exciting and very young and very, very vivacious, energetic actress. She's really good. So it's always, for me, the reason I make films is because I explore people and I explore what lies behind people. And so that's why I love actors and that's why I love doing what I do.
What draws you to women characters helmed by legendary actors like Shabana Azmi in Masoom, Seema Biswas in Bandit Queen, Sridevi in Mr. India, Cate Blanchett in two versions in Elizabeth, and now Emma in your latest. So what draws you to women characters?
Well, actually, I should say it's Emma and Lily because Lily is playing a very fascinating character. She's playing a girl addicted to Tinder. So, and the reason I like women, I would say I prefer the feminine to the masculine. I think there's a genre in cinema that has developed over the year where the masculine is represented always by, fists and violence. And the feminine, not necessarily women, but the feminine is always represented by a far greater complexity, so female characters, therefore, the feminine becomes an exploration of greater complexity and greater nurturing. Whereas if you look at male characters traditionally, they're represented by guys who are tough and they'll go and beat their way through it, and that's not interesting. But if I've tried to make Buddha and be constantly talking about Buddha. Buddha is an exploration of the feminine being the more spiritual, and therefore the spirituality idea. And we all both male and female, feminine and masculine at the same time. So it's the feminine in our spirit that I want to explore all the time. That's really what my calling is.
So just a line, because these are all very, very legendary female actors you have worked with since Masoom, Shabana Azmi. So I would just ask you to have a line on each of them. Shabana, Cate Blanchett, Seema Biswas, and Emma, and Sridevi.
Actually, you're asking a very tough thing because if I could define a line for each actress, I would be confining their personalities, their talents, and their abilities, and the reason I worked with them. But I'm going to try. But it's, you're asking me to define and confine because defining always leads to confining. So, yeah, go ahead though. I mean, I'll try. I'll tell you what I think. Yeah, go ahead. So, wait, Shabana is, that was my first film, and Shabana, well, each one of them actually, I asked actors not to portray the characters, but to portray truth, right? And so with each one of them, the idea is that they've all been successful and we've had great collaborations because each one of these actresses, they had the ability to bring themselves to the character. Otherwise, they're just miming a character. So Seema and Shabana and Kate, and now Emma and Lily, they're bringing who they are to the character. And somewhere between the character and themselves, they're finding a drawbridge comes together and then it becomes seamless. They are the character is them. And that's what's been so fabulous about working with them. I could tell you stories about each one of them, but the interesting thing is that they've all brought themselves and become one with the character.
A line on Sridevi.
If you've just seen Sridevi, if you walked on the sets with Sridevi and she was there, and She would be chatting to you, and she would be Sridevi, and then as the camera went on, something electric quite happened. Something electric happened, and she just transformed herself. She actually just transformed herself. And you would say, hang on, this is the girl who was either sitting quietly or eating something or talking to her makeup person or anything. And suddenly there was a big shift. There was a shift. And that shift was so remarkable that in front of the camera, she became one with the camera. She saw no difference. The lens was her and she was the lens. And she just became one with the camera. She became just a completely different persona. And it was quite fascinating to watch. It suddenly changed the shift. Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Just a small question. In your late 30s, you did Masoom. In your late 40s, you did Bandit Queen. And in your 70s, you are helming a romantic comedy. Are you conveying something?
Well, if I am, I don't know. I hope that all my films convey something, but I've actually never in my life, whatever I do, I'm part of a flow that is beyond me, right? So I'm not desperately trying to convey something. I just find something I like in a script or something I like in a character, something that I like about what it's trying to say about our state, who we are as human beings, and so I go for it. Am I conveying something? I don't know. I mean, I want to convey something with Pani, and I'm still trying to make that film. There's always a film in a director's life that's been going on for 20 years.
Yeah.
And every time it starts to get made, it doesn't get made. But
We'll come to Pani later. I just wanted to understand what drew you to make a romantic comedy. What drew you to do
well,
this at this stage of your life?
well, it's not so much. It's a romantic comedy. It is a romantic comedy, but the female characters in it are completely fascinating, and they
Okay.
represent a state of our lives, our civilization. Actually, it's who are we today? Who it's the film's about the search for intimacy. Actually, what's love got to do with it? Is it's a search that we all have. We are born with wanting to be intimate, but what is intimacy? We spend our lives trying to be intimate, and we've turned intimacy into all kinds of different words. But from the time when we were born, when our mothers held us, there was intimate moments, and gradually we've lost the ease of intimacy, and then we
Okay.
constantly searching. So what's love got to do with it? It's a romantic comedy, but it is about what we do to find intimacy and why we can't find it, and what are the issues around our ability or inability to find intimacy. And that's what I'm attracted to. There's a search for intimacy.
Congratulations on your appointment as the chairman of FTII.
Mm.
What's your vision with FTII? Can we ever make another IIT out of FTII?
Well, it's really interesting you say that. I think that what we need to do is to find, and I've been trying to do that. The first thing I ever did was to try and find connections between IIT and FTII, because the future of cinema, cinema is a technology. It's a art that is derived from a technology. It is an art, but the
Right.
expression of it is a technological expression, and that technology is changing every day. It's changing every day, and in my term, what I'd like to do is at IIT, they're finding that they need more humanities. It can't just
Right.
be about engineering and coding. So IIT is looking to make the human brain and the engineering brain or the coding brain, the computer brain more human. And what I'm going to be looking for FTI, we have the humanities. That's what we do in a creative school. We are about the humanities and about creativity, but I'm hoping that to bring much more technology. And if I
Okay.
can bring more technology to that, then the students as they come out of FTII, all over the world, they should find people with, like how they say about IIT, all over the world. If you're a student of a graduate of IIT, you have a potential. I want the world to say that about FTII. Students of FTII have great potential.
So, are you planning to bring in a lot of faculty or guest lecturers from all over the world? What's
Yeah.
going to be, how are you planning to execute this vision of yours?
Well, I'm a chairman of the board of directors. The execution level is another whole level that exists already at the IIT. So I will not try and interfere, but I'm going to try and add to it. So we've already had guest lectures. I did the first one. A.R. Rahman did the second one.
Okay.
I'm now bringing my editor, who's Baz Luhrmann's editor, one of the most celebrated editors of the world. She's going to come on and do a guest lecture. Obviously, today we have to do everything online.
Absolutely.
The other thing that we're finding out is hopefully everybody will be able to go back to campus. But while we are out of campus, is how do we adapt ourselves to online learning and online education? And how does that adapt to a creative school? How does it adapt to actors, for example? Can actors, because the tools available to us online are so huge and so complex and so wonderful now, can actors actually, can I make a film online? Can I develop direct actors online? So is to bring all that technology, all that understanding to a school that is essentially a creative school.
You spoke about Pani while back, a project which you have lived with for about 2 decades now.
Yes.
What is it that not fitting in the scheme of things? Because we are all excited, we have spoken, we have read, we have been waiting. Is a cause which should be, kind of also spoken about, but something has not worked out. So if you could just tell us that, do we first see Pani sometime in near future, and what is it that needs to be done to get this going?
I think the question that you should be asking me is, can we see Pani before we stop getting water in our taps? That's the
Okay.
issue, and for 20 years, I've been understanding, and it's my guilt actually that drives me to make Pani, because as a kid, living in Delhi, whoever thought water would run out? We used to waste
Right.
water all the time. So that's why I want to make it, because the environment, the fundamental. I know we are all obsessed with COVID right now, rightly so, but the real issue is still water. We've crossed the danger zone. What is it not being made? I think that I have a rebellious streak in me that stops me from making a lot of things, because when I see art turning into project, there's a very different thing. There is a film, and then there's a project of the film. And I think the problem is that it becomes, because it's not a very cheap film to make, it starts to
Right.
become a project, like a
Right.
project, cast who's a star, how much, how will it be distributed? And then I say, well, it's not just too important for that? I think that's the reason I have to take it out from being a project. That's all I can say, is that it becomes a commercial project, and then it doesn't happen. Various reasons.
Will you make it? I mean, will you
I think
still?
after what's love got to do with it, with cinema and the presentation of cinema changing as much as we have seen over
Right.
the OTT program,
Right.
things like now, I think it is time to now make Pani. I mean, I could make Pani in so many different ways. Before that, there was only the theatrical. Now theatrical
Right.
is gone, and there are so many different platforms on which you can reach out to people. And now I think is the time that, given all these platforms, is to make Pani so that it can reach out people all the time, or everywhere.
Bollywood is clearly going through an ugly phase with public spats and arrests of stars over multiple charges. What do you think is the key reason of this turmoil? And do you think it will help emerge a new order?
Well, I'll answer your second question first. It has already helped emerge a new order. I've never seen so much talent, so many different forms, and so many different directors, so many different new writers. The emergence of new talent on the OTT platforms is becoming huge, and it's such a pleasure to watch in India. I wouldn't say Indian film, because now it's even more than just a film. Is it a series? Is it a film? Is it a reality show? Is it a documentary? All of them combined into one thing, and new talent is emerging. To your first question, the essence of what went wrong with Bollywood is it became a monopoly game. It became a monopoly game essentially because, for the world's largest lover of cinema, which is India, the largest population, we have only 9,000 screens.
That's right.
9,000 screens for 4 or 5 languages. So it became a monopoly game, because if you could get to the theater, you were in charge of the business. Just compare to that. China has 80,000 screens.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're increasing 15 screens a day. We are losing screens.
that's right.
So now, why is it now getting better? Because our screens are our home television home. As a filmmaker, of course, I love the big screen. I hope the big screen comes back. But for a while, I don't think it's coming back. I don't think theatrical is coming back for a while because of the virus. But it has given rise to an amazing increase in technology and in the habit of viewing at home and giving you the choice. So your first question is, Why did Bollywood become like that? Because it became a too few screens being chased by too many people. It became a game of monopoly. Second, yeah, we've seen the emergence of great, great, wonderful new talent and new forms of presenting stories because ultimately creativity is about storytelling.
What do you think of great content coming out of a conflicted society like this? What's your view on that?
I think a society that is not in conflict is not a creative society. You know,
Okay.
conflict creates, I mean, the very nature of the universe is conflict. The earth and the sun are in conflict with each other. You know, the sun is pulling the earth into itself, and the earth, through its energies, is trying to fly out of the orbit of the sun. It's a conflict. So the whole universe is held together by conflict, by
Okay.
conflicting, and by art is held together by conflict. What is storytelling but a moral conflict? What is a
Right.
composition? What is music? What is a composer? It's notes in conflict with each other. Otherwise, you just get one note. It's because the notes are conflicting, therefore, there is creativity. And when it's the same can be said about a society. A society in conflict is a society trying to change, finding new ways to express itself. So society also expresses itself, and conflict is essential for the idea of expression to go on.
So you spoke about great content coming on the OTT platforms, the Indian OTT platforms.
Yeah.
Anything in particular you want to mention? Because it's an encouragement to new talent. I mean, if you say a few words on something, some new talent, either a writer, director, or an actor, I think it's great encouragement for that. So have you seen something which you have liked?
Look, I'm going to have to try and remember. I saw Sudhir Mishra's film on OTT. Was based on a novel, which was quite an amazing film. And if it was theatrical, it wouldn't have been the same
Right.
because it
Okay.
carries the weight and the cost of theatrical. I just recently saw AK versus AK just
Right.
2 days ago. Fun,
Right.
a different form of storytelling,
Yeah.
entertaining. Would have never come out theatrically ever,
Right.
and all congratulations for to the team and to Anil for actually Anil Kapoor for taking the risk of doing this, to
Right.
reveal himself the way he had. It takes courage.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of courageous things happen. And I saw Panchayat the other day. That was really good. And then the emergence of fundamentally new actors. Like for me, I mean, now Manoj Bajpayee is a big star on ODT. And, if it was theatrical, then he would have never been the draw that he is now. So what's happening with OTT is that the fantastic plots, fantastic actors, great actors are becoming the new stars because they are drawing us in.
Let's go back a bit. Let's talk about your childhood. You were born in the turmoil of partition, and that had impacted your family too. Do you have any childhood memories which you would like to share? Something which has remained with you?
You know, I went to Lahore to do the music of Bandit Queen with
Right.
Nusrat Ali Khan, and I went back, and my father told me where I was born, the house I was born with, and I saw the house, and suddenly I remembered what it looked like, and I was just 1 year old, or not even one when we left, but the memories were there. I saw this house. I remembered the walls, and there was next to big walls you have this sometimes these chai ki dukans come on. There was
Right, right, right.
and I started to ask him about, and he suddenly looked at me. He said, "आप क्या Dr. Kapoor साहब के बेटे हो?" मैंने कहा हाँ. And he remembered my father. You know, so yeah, it was amazing. It's not the memory so much; it's the energy of your existence of that time that keeps drawing you. And I've always been, when people talk about partition, we've forgotten people that were not born of the partition. We've forgotten that 10 million people moved and 1 million people died during partition. It's not for us and for my parents. It was not an easy thing to forget. It was never an easy. It's not an easy thing for me to forget that what conflict can lead to. It can lead to. It's very easy to talk about conflict, but for those of us that actually experienced it, what my mother told me about it, what my father told me about it, the fact that I was basically, when I see refugees, we were refugees. We came in a refugee camp. Well, my first memory of my childhood was actually a tent, a refugee tent. So when I look at refugees, and I look around myself, and everybody says, "Oh, refugees, refugees." Look at me. I mean, I'm a refugee that way. I came up from first memories are not that much the house, but the tent.
But then you went on to get educated at the modern school, St. Stephen's, and then a chartered accountancy, and even a corporate career in London. How did movies happen?
I knew I wanted to walk away from a corporate career. Um, it wasn't that movies. I didn't leave chartered accountancy or a corporate career to go to movies. I knew that I was 24 at that time when I left. And I knew that something was going wrong with my life. And what was going wrong with my life is that I was not doing what I was doing, and who I was too far apart. So I went out to look for something that I want to spend the rest of my life doing that who I am. And so I realized that I had to be in some kind of creative place. But I could not get to a creative place. So I decided at 24, I decided that there was one word I was going to not ever refer to in my life. And that word was called career. And for a middle class boy from India to drop the word career after he's become a chartered accountant, it was a big move. I am no longer going to pursue a career. So I'm not a filmmaker. It's not my career. My career is to search for adventure in the life to find out who I am. That's who I am, is the search for who I am. So that's the yearning that led me to all kinds of different adventures, some of which you know about, musical theater, filmmaking, going around the world making different kinds of films, exploration, adventure, and the search for myself is who I am.
Though you made an impact as an actor in movies like Tute Khilone and then TV serials like Udan, which I remember when we used to see, and because those were appointment viewing days when we used to see those serials. But you never pursued your acting as a career. Were you too international looking for the masses? What happened? I mean, obviously you started as a career actor and you did quite well, but then you moved to making films. So what happened?
I wasn't a good actor. It's simple as
Okay, that's quite candid. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, if I was, I mean, I know that Quran is one of the well-remembered series. It was a great series, but that was more the director making me do what I had to do. So I was never really thought I was a good actor. It's not something that I actually fell into it by accident because I wanted to be part of the industry, and you know, a film has only one director and has several actors. So to get into the film industry, that was an easy way to do it. So I stepped into it. I wasn't very good. I wasn't. I still am as good as the director tells me to be, or I'm as good as the story is, or I'm good. You know.
Let's talk about Bandit Queen. Apart from winning all the awards it deserved, it also featured several actors who are huge stars today. Manoj Bajpayee, who you mentioned earlier, Saurabh Shukla, Gajaraj Rao, Raghuveer Yadav, Govind Namdev. I mean, the list just goes, it's endless. Do you feel happy looking back at Bandit Queen?
Of course I do. It's one of the most important films of my life. If you ask me which has been the film that I am most proud about, or it's not my Oscar nominated or Oscar winning films, it's Bandit Queen. And because it's the one film that I made that was made absolutely instinctually, completely instinctually. And I'm so proud about all these actors, but I have to give, guess who my casting director was Tigmanshu Dhulia. And a large part of the credit of casting all those people goes to Tishu, Tigmanshu.
Right, right.
We sat in Delhi and he brought all these actors to me. I
Yeah,
mean, he was part of the Delhi stage, he was part of the
yeah.
National Drama. And everywhere I went, I was picking up actors from the villages and things. Also, he was my casting director, and a lot of the credit goes to him.
One underlying theme in your earlier Hindi movies, be it Masoom, Bandit Queen, or Mr. India, is the stupendous music or background score. Are you musically inclined?
I don't think you're creative unless you're musically inclined. Actually, the very essence of life is music. You know, if you believe in any religion, Sufism, it's music. If Hinduism, the one musical note that gave rise to the universe is a musical note called Om. It's Om is a musical note. So the very essence of the putting together, the creation of the universe is a musical idea. It's an idea of harmony, and then it's an idea of symphony, and therefore all art essentially is also music. Whether it's great poetry is also music, great films is also music, great paintings is also music. So music forms a fundamental part of who we really are. It's the first bit of art that we learn to express ourselves. It's not just singing, whether it's rhythm or anything
Right.
else. I find that we all responded to music. So for me, music and film are exactly the same thing.
Okay, a short question. What made you use Ustad Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan to give the music for Bandit Queen?
I knew I needed a voice, and I knew I needed both a voice and a composer that could express the angst, the absolute angst of the character. So that was the amazing thing about Nusrat. When I heard his Qawwalis and I heard some of the music that he had done and his singing, it's full of his singing. There was a certain yearning, there was a certain angst to his singing that comes out of Sufi music a lot. That's why I approached him and asked him if he would do it.
You have partly answered my next question, but I'll still ask which work or works of yours you are most proud of? You have mentioned about Bandit Queen. So if you could just, if you want to add some other work of yours and talk a bit about Bandit Queen if you want, why you are proud of.
The Bandit Queen is one of those things, one of those films. We decide a plot. It was plotless, actually.
Okay.
And I can remember I had no idea how to make the films, but normally I don't know how to make my film till I actually get to make it. But I remember meeting Seema Biswas, who was a very accomplished theater actress in Delhi, and she asked me some very relevant questions. And said, so, because I was a well-known director already, she asked me the trajectory of the character. She asked me, what are the high points, what are the low points, and everything about the dignity and the moments of the character that were more important. And she got me because I hadn't even thought about all that yet. So I put it back on her and said, Seema, well, why don't you go back and write about the character and bring me 2 pages? And she wrote those pages, and they were very professional, very remarkable. And I suddenly knew how to make the film. And so I said, Seema, now write 2 pages about Pulin Devi. Or you've written, sorry, Pulin, about the film. Now write 2 pages. Confine yourself to 2 pages about yourself. There's not a single one that's either listening to the program or you or me together that can confine ourselves to 2 pages. Can we? We cannot. And yet we go on making films by confining characters to this is our character and confine it to a 2 hour, 1.5 hour film. And so why I love that film so much is none of us went in there knowing what we would make. So that's what I remember telling all my actors and everybody, the whole crew, everybody that was working very intimately is that, yeah, we have a script, it's just a takeoff point, but I'm not asking you to be right or wrong. There is no right in creativity, there's no wrong in creativity. There's only honest. Be honest to the moment. If you're nervous, you're nervous. If you forget your lines, you forget your lines. Let's just go out and be honest because maybe in that honesty, we can be honest enough to try and discover a person that is still alive and see how it works. So that's why it's my favorite. It didn't carry the burden of we have to have this end, we have to do this, we have to do that. It was a process of exploration. So I don't even know when I can do that again, but the whole of the making of Bandit Queen was a process of exploration.
Expectation would have been there still because you had already done a cult movie like Masoom, which was probably about what 11 years before you did Bandit Queen. So I'm sure people had very high expectation of you.
Yeah, what you're saying is the bane of success and the bane of fame is that it becomes your greatest burden. Now you have to let that go. I used to be a very, very keen climber of mountains. And the one thing you learn from climbing a mountain is two things you learn. One, you can't climb the next mountain without coming down a mountain. So you have to come down it. And most of the big accidents of climbing are on the way down, not on the
On
way
the
up.
way down, yeah.
So you have to come down and work your way down to forget you climbed this mountain and then climb the next one. So I think it's the same thing that we can say about success and fame is that you have to climb down from success, you have to climb down from fame. Otherwise, you're just going to make the same film again and again.
Which projects of yours have been the most challenging to execute?
There have been projects that have been challenging that because I wasn't fully able to express myself. And some of them succeeded, some of them failed. I mean, Mr. India was a very, very challenging film. It was very challenging because it is full of visual effects, and actually everything was done in camera. I mean, there's this very famous scene in Mr. India that we had about where he suddenly first discovers invisibility, and he picks up this kid, Anil Kapoor, and he can see in red, and he can't see in red. I remember there was 7 passes of the negative. We used to run the camera with a filter, with a mask, and then run it back exactly, put the mask in a different way, run the scene again in a different way. 7 passes of the same negative to go on. And I had, fortunately, at that time, a very special visual effects cameraman called Peter Pereira. And we did. It was very challenging. The film, now when you watch it, it flows and is simple. Remember, it was made when there was no green screen, there was no visual effects, there was nothing. Everything was done in camera.
Any regrets till date in
Yeah.
terms of the professional career of yours?
Yeah, I have not made Pani as a regret. I hope to redress that soon. But I don't think I made enough films. I think that I wish I was born today to make films, because today I don't know why people don't make films all the time. Now you have a cell phone, you can make a film on a cell phone. You have an editing thing in your computer. You can edit and put out. I think when I started to make films, we still had to get a 35 camera and raw stock and all of that. I wish, the regret is that I just didn't do enough work. I don't regret anything in my life. I've always been much more busy than people think I have, because they only see me doing films. But I do regret not making more films. I wish I was today, if there was OTT and everything, I would be making a film every day.
We're coming to the end of the interview. I just want you to answer. These are all one-word answers. Just describe 2020, the year 2020.
I call it the year of the mirror. It was when civilization had a mirror held to it to look upon it and reflect upon it. So it's a year of reflection, the year of the mirror.
Year 2021.
It's a year of a new beginning. So 2021, the year of new beginning, where civilization actually has to now rework itself in order to have a much more fair society.
Twitter
was a great platform for all of us to express ourselves. It's now become a platform of angst, and therefore I'm rethinking Twitter.
Hollywood
was a name that was once the mecca of filmmaking, but now filmmaking is so international that Hollywood is losing its absolute significance, and everywhere else is gaining significance. So international cinema, Hollywood is now just a metaphor.
Hindi movies.
Hindi movies have to stop calling themselves Hindi movies. They have to call themselves movies. And that's probably our definition of ourselves is becoming the reason we are not progressing.
Thank you, Shekhar Kapur, for talking to me on Teachers Glasses Presents Bollywood Talkies with Outlook. Enjoy the London winters and wish you all the very best with what's love got to do with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Why I love that film so much is none of us went in there knowing what we would make. So that's what I remember telling all my actors and everybody, the whole crew, everybody that was working very intimately, is that, yeah, we have a script, it's just a takeoff point, but I'm not asking you to be right or wrong. There is no right in creativity, there's no wrong in creativity, there's only honest. Be honest to the moment. If you're nervous, you're nervous. If you forget your lines, you forget your lines. Let's just go out and be honest, because maybe in that honesty, we can be honest enough to try and discover a person that is still alive and see how it works. So that's why it's my favorite. It didn't carry the burden of, we have to have this end, we have to do this, we have to do that. It was a process of exploration. So I don't even know when I can do that again, but the whole of the making of Bandit Queen was a process of exploration.